Buenos dias. Mi nombre es Jamie Jones. I'm Jamie, and I serve gratefully today as worship associate. Bienvenidos a la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno, California. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, California.
Mi nombre es Lisa Lindsay. I'm Lisa, and I also serve gratefully today as a worship associate. I'd like to welcome all on our online church campus and everyone here on our Alluvial Avenue campus. We are one congregation in many places.
We want to acknowledge that our Alluvial Avenue Church campus sits within the traditional homelands of the Yokuts and Mono peoples.
As Unitarian Universalists, we welcome you no matter your race, culture of origin, age, spiritual beliefs, or religious background.
We welcome you no matter your disabilities, the amount of money in your bank account, your level of education, or your neurodiversity.
You are welcome with or without documentation, con papeles o sin papeles. No human being is illegal at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno.
As Unitarian Universalists, we not only open our doors to people of all sexual orientation and gender identities, we value diversity of sexuality and gender and see it as a spiritual gift. Todos son bienvenidos aquí.
If you are on our virtual campus this morning and you wish to share a joy, sorrow, concern, or gratitude, now is the time to write it in the chat box. We need you to write it now so that we have time to get it to Lori for the time later in the service where we will all share.
Our worship theme for the month of May is nurturing beauty, and we've been exploring this in our Chalice circles and our services. Now, in the chat box, in person, or on Alluvial Avenue campus, or in the silent sacredness of hearts, let's take a moment to greet one another safely.
Oh my goodness. So you may have noticed that Pastor Tim Kutzmark is not here. The hair might have been the giveaway. No hair. But he is he is well deservedly out of town. So glad to take that off. And I promise you he'll be back next Sunday. And the exciting thing is that the guest speaker for next Sunday will be Ray Hotoda of the Fresno Philharmonic, the musical director. So I think that's going to be really special. We're very fortunate. Right. Yeah. If you want to I invite our virtual campus attendees to gather a candle or a chalice ready to light, because we'll be doing that quickly. For me, there are certain sounds that trigger something in me. Some good, some not so good. But the tingsha, which I wasn't familiar with till I came here, when I hear that, I immediately move to peace and calm. And it takes me to a place that I feel like my heart opens and I'm ready to receive whatever possibility comes my way. So may it be so for you.
we're here again. And I'm thankful to be here. But before I go any further, let me just honor my my ancestors. Sometimes this is a little hard for me because my parents are in the spirit world with my ancestors now, and every time I think of them, I think of my parents. And Ya chipni mayan and chipich panat. I'm a kanan yokach mayan. I'm a kanan whiplin mayan. I'm a kanan in mayan. I'm a kanan in yokach mayan in tan. Tesla kamamin in tan. Yech mayan yokats. I prayed in the Tachi language, and I asked the ancestors to be with me when I sing. And sometimes I have to say no to things like this because they're really hard for me. But I'm going to try to do my best. I'm sorry. Woody Guthrie wrote a song in 1948. It's called Plain Wrecked Los Gatos. And it resonated with me because where we live where farm labor workers are coming and going. And back in my mom and my dad's time, it was a little different. Racism was a lot more out in the open. And Woody Guthrie, he did our community a huge service by trying to name the 28 Mexican farm labor workers that died, nameless. And thank you. You're so sweet. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to play Woody Guthrie's Deportee. I did a little different because the original way was not how I felt the song should be sang. So I did it my way. And crops are all in and the peaches are rotting. The oranges are piled and their creosote down. They're flying me back to the Mexican border. Pay all my money way back again. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita. Adios, mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. No, we won't have a name when we ride the big airplane. All they will call us is the deportee. My brothers and sisters come work in the fruit trees. They worked in the fields, the sick of them died. My brothers and sisters come work in the fruit trees. They took the big truck so they took down and died. We died in your hills, we died in your desert. We died in your mountains, we died in your plain. We died beneath your trees, we died in your bushes. Both sides of the river, we died just the same. Oh, goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita. Adios, mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. No, we won't have a name when we ride the big airplane. All they will call us is the deportee. And it's 600 miles to the Mexican border. They chase us like outlaws, like animals, like thieves. You ask, who are these friends, all scattered like dry leaves? The radio calls us all just deportees. Oh, goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita. Adios mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. No, we won't have a name, we ride the big airplane. All they will call us is the deportee. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita. Adios mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. No, we won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call us is the deportee. Nameless no more.
Thank you. I invite those at home to light a chalice or chalice, a candle or chalice, as Jamie lights the chalice in the sanctuary, while reading aloud with me. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods, yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change this world. I invite those present on our Alluvial Avenue campus to rise in body or spirit and join those on our virtual campus in singing our song of praise, Love Will Guide Us. If you're present here today and not vaccinated, please sing in the sacredness of your heart.
1, 2, 3, 4. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from free to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. You are like no other being. What you can give, no other can give to the future of our precious children, to the future of the world where we live. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us, leading the way on the road from free to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Love will guide us through the hard night.
While we recite our church mission, la misión de la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno es amar inclusivamente crecer espiritualmente, servir con gratitud y trabajar por la justicia. The mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno is to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice. Thank you.
We usually pay no attention to our breathing. It just is. It's what we just do. But today, let's really pay attention to our breathing as an amazing thing of beauty. So whether you're on the Alluvial campus or here, virtual campus or Alluvial campus, I invite you to relax in your chair, to get yourself comfortable and try and let go of any tension you bring from the week, from the day, from the morning alarm. And I invite you to take a deep breath in. Hold it and let it out. Take another deep breath in. Hold it and let it out. And one more time, take a deep breath, hold it, and let it out. Now that you're centered, let's reflect on 2 questions today. The first one, when in the past week did you notice something that was of beauty to you? And secondly, when in the past week did you receive something of beauty from another, or do something of beauty for another? As some of you entered the sanctuary this morning, or those of you in the virtual campus wrote in the chat line, you provided some joys and sorrows that you'd like to be presented to all of us. So here are some of what was shared this morning. From Bernadette Planting, my church family makes me smile. Last night's musical fundraiser was amazing. Thanks, Mike and Chris. From Kim Fox, I am very grateful for my parents. From Andrea B, joy and gratitude for Fab 10 day trip to Florida, visiting my brother and his wife and a lifelong friend. Special thanks to Vicky G for help with ungodly hours, departing and arrival. From Lorenzo, he brings a joy to us that next Sunday, May 29th, that we have another very special guest speaker lined up. Ray Hotoda, the music director of Fresno Philharmonic, will be here 5 years after he decided, after we started to try to schedule him. So it took 5 years. So you better be here Sunday because it took 5 years to get him here. That's all of you also. Let's have a great turnout to greet this very special speaker. From Paula Siegel, just as I was standing to relax, just as I was starting to relax about COVID, I found out my brother and his wife, who were so careful, got COVID. So our hearts are with them. From Richard Ayal, Cowlitz Indian Tribe Elder, personal joy on a poem I wrote. If we would listen to our heart and others did the same, we could connect, though far apart, and outperform our brain. From Constance Jones, a joy, in-person graduation events for the students at Fresno State this weekend, having us all. So many lost those momentous occasions over these last 2 years, and so what a wonderful thing for people to celebrate again. And lastly, a joy from Barbara Ullman. Hi, Barbara. I'll be a greeter at General Assembly. Sorry, Barbara, I don't know what that is. Haven't been here long enough. So I look forward to seeing some of you in Portland next month. I wish I'd been seeing you. From those who virtually today we continue to celebrate Asian American Month. We celebrate these 24 million people here in the United States who offer rich traditions, languages, and experiences that are solidly a part of who we are as an American people. Also today, we celebrate International Being You Day. I didn't know that was a thing, but I think it's a really good idea. You are invited to explore what it means to truly be you. Beyond the projections of society and the need for perfection, it is your day to discover the beauty of you and your unique capabilities. As we think of all that has been shared here this morning and all that lies still in the sacredness of our hearts, we also hold in our thoughts those unable to be with us because of poor health or compromised mobility, including Edith H., William H., Laura G., Glenda R., Pat M., Al G., Branda E., and Josephine J.
Let's take a moment to expand our circle of love beyond these walls to those who have no one to remember them, to speak their names gently and with love. As we think of all that has been shared here this morning and all that still lies in our hearts, we light our candle of community.
This week, we continue to experience the crush of COVID with the deaths of 1,028,014 Americans, the most deaths of any country in the world. As is our tradition, we light a second candle for the 6,296,018 citizens of the world lost to this pandemic.
As these three candles burn, please join together in the meditation song, Spirit of Life, Fuente de Amor.
1, 2, 3. Spirit of life, come unto me. In my heart, all stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of come to me, come to me. amor, ven hacia mí y al corazón cántale tu compasión. Sopla al volar, sube en la mar, hasta al moldear la justicia de la vida. Arraígame, libérame, fuente de amor. Ven a mí, ven a mí.
Pause. Feel the new morning light on your face as you awaken. See the expanse of majestic mountains on the horizon. Watch a tiny feather dance in the wind.
Pause. Taste the salty air rising from the sea. Hold an icy, sweating glass on a hot summer's day. Listen to the enchanting song of a backyard dove.
Pause. Touch the warm, waiting hand beside you. Hear the approaching wind from pines far away. Let your body respond to a catchy tune.
Pause. Embrace someone in need of it. Sense the moment between breathing in and breathing out. Sway to the rhythm of the lullaby.
Pause. Gaze at a single glimmering star that beckons. Return the smile of a passing stranger. Yield to the sleepy urge to close your eyes.
Pause. Connect eye to eye with anyone. Collapse into a compassionate hug. Imagine the earth before us.
Pause, and beauty is everywhere.
I'm not sure what I'd do without Lorenzo give me the go ahead. Indians don't have like a set schedule. We just kind of, you're first, you're second, you're third, you're last. And if anybody shows up, just throw them in there. And we're always late for everything. It's sundown. Sun's already down. No one's there yet. Well, it's Indian time. So we're supposed to play a flute song. And I'm a traditional flute player for our Yokuts people. And I always end up playing a lot of funerals. And too many that I want to. But this is one of the songs that we sing to our ancestors, to the ones that passed on, and it's a very powerful song. And I composed it on the flute. I'm probably the only California flute player, for one, and I'm probably the only person to transfer the traditional songs that we sing to the flute. So maybe one day when I'm gone, one of the young ones can keep doing that. But until then, it's me. And if you feel like singing with me when I start to sing with me. Trust me, you ain't gonna mess it up. You can't mess up an Indian song. You know why? Because most of our songs come from here, and we only have a few lyrics in there. Most of it is emotion, feeling, because the spirit world knows your heart. And when you show your heart to them, they're going to listen. If you just do this, it's just this. But if it comes from here, right here, everybody understands it, no matter what religion or culture, wherever you come from. So here's to all of us. We're all Yokuts, because Yokuts just means people. That's all it means. All right, enough talking.
We just need to take a minute and feel the gift that was just given to us. Thank you. So it's always an honor and a gift to have somebody from the community come and share their wisdom in Lance's case, his great talents. And joining us today is Dr. Carol Goldsmith. Everybody say hi. Wave to the people up there. There we go. Dr. Goldsmith has just recently taken on the daunting task of becoming the Chancellor of the State Center Community College District. It's a huge task. It's a really big district with, is it 5 colleges now? 4 colleges. When I started, there was 2, Reedley and Fresno. So she served, however, before that as president of Fresno City College, and before that, president of West Hills Community College. So she has been around the block. She wanted me to tell you that she is most proud of the work done collectively to transform our colleges to become an anti-racist institution. And to get the collective to focus on student success and justice. So I decided I got to make a personal note since I retired from the district, and I've now, I retired after 33 years and I'm teaching still, so I think we're at 36 or so. And so I've been able to witness Dr. Goldsmith in action. Foremost in my mind, there are 2 things that I immediately thought of and thought I'd share with you because, to be honest, people can say, oh yeah, I do the justice thing for my, I want students to be successful, but I have real evidence. So, you guys remember the COVID thing? When that hit, we all know how hard it was. But in education, I know Kim knows as a teacher, education was hit really hard. How in the world do you still continue to do your job in a virtual world? And what I witnessed with Dr. Goldsmith was that her leadership, in my opinion, was not only efficient, check, and effective, check, but it was compassionate. It was compassionate. She conveyed such care and concern for employees and students and went above and beyond coming up with equitable solutions and meaningful communications through videos and meetings and meetings and meetings and support groups and other tools. Secondly, her personal and professional response to the raising of the pride flag on the Fresno City College campus, and her influence, by the way, on the mayor because of that action. Yeah. That was moving, and it was also evidence of a heart for social justice for all. I look forward to seeing where she takes the district, as I think I'm going to keep going. And I know it will have creativity, compassion, and justice at its core. So we will hear from Dr. Goldsmith after we stand, as we are able, to sing our hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth.
2, 3, 4. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of hill and high, harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour of the day and of the night, toil and veil and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
Whew. Let's thank Lance again for that grateful praise. I also want to thank Lori for that just delightful and very welcoming introduction. Thank you, Lori. And thank you, Janice and Lisa, for being here. It's wonderful meeting you today. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we all want to thank Lance and Lorenzo, but for their musical talents, and Lance. And especially Lance for being so vulnerable with us today and showing strength and grace. I think your ancestors and your mom and dad are very proud of you. Yeah. So I want to start my little timer because they told me I had 15 to 20 minutes. So I don't want to go over. I'm just so grateful to be here today, and I just want to thank everyone here at the Unitarian Universal Church to spend your time with me this morning, because you could have hit snooze one more time. I appreciate seeing you in real life and not in a little box, although I'm happy to see you out in the virtual world as well. So David, Goliath, and the Good Samaritan. When I first suggested this title, some of my friends and some of my colleagues asked, why are you making the connection between these three characters? How are they connected? And more importantly, why are you discussing Christian theology with a liberal faith group like the Unitarian Universalists? Well, don't be alarmed. I'm not here to preach any Christian dogma, quite the opposite. As a historian by trade and an educator by love and profession, I know all too well that the Judeo-Christian references that I'm going to make today are steeped in our culture. They're steeped in our idioms. They're steeped in our legal system. And as some of our educators can attest to, maybe they're steeped in our educational system as well. And like you, I often see how parables and stories can be used to teach, can be learned. We could take these opportunities and these stories to learn more about our sacred responsibility to act in the interest of all people, not just the chosen few, and how we can learn how we must prioritize and protect the most vulnerable among us. In the weeks leading to this moment, I was struggling with what to talk about. In fact, I kind of had monkey mind and I was all over the place. You know that, okay. As I was preparing for our time together in quiet reflection and meditation, I was struck by the level of stress and trauma and conflict that we've all collectively experienced during these last few challenging years. And I kept coming back to the trials and tribulations of the pandemic, of climate change, and the most daily attacks on issues around social justice and just personal individual liberties. And it almost seems like every day there's a new social, racial, climate, and health crisis unfolds before our very eyes every day. And this leaves many of us tired and weary, and perhaps we're looking for a new model or a proven model of action and responsibility so we can better respond to those in need, to better support those who face injustice. So it was the notion of David and Goliath came to be. Thank you for the water, by the way. That was a great idea. So you might be thinking, these three characters really, I thought we could use them to examine our own responses to crisis and situational crisis and the daily challenges and even the mighty challenges that face us that we know are all coming. So can these ancient parables and ancient characters provide modern lessons to those of us who are working for justice? I believe so. How can we look towards these characters to ignite our compassion? By re-examining these characters, I believe we might be able to find new ways of approaching the challenges we face today. Perhaps the parable would offer words of wisdom as we can draw conclusions about how we should show up and protect those who are on the side of love and justice and peace at the core of everything we do. So today, in these next few minutes, through these stories, we'll share a few and explore a few ideas. One, that much of what we consider to be of value in this world arises from lopsided conflicts, because the act of facing overwhelming odds often produces greatness and beauty. Two, we consistently get conflicts wrong. We often misread them. We often misinterpret them. Giants are not always what we think they are. The same qualities that appear to give them strength are often the sources of their greatest weakness and fear. Being an underdog can change people in ways that we often fail to appreciate. It can open up doors, provide enthusiasm, and create opportunities and educate and enlighten ways to make possible right what otherwise we might have thought unthinkable. And we need a better way of identifying these giants. And lastly, having the intent to help is good, but acting on the intent is much, much better. So what can these characters teach us today about the seemingly dangerous paths that are in our world today? Well, in modern usage, the phrase David and Goliath has taken on a secular meaning, denoting an underdog in a situation. A contest where the smaller, weaker opponent faces a much bigger, stronger adversary. And if successful, the underdog may win in an unusual or surprising way. So think about these characters and how perverse they are in our dominant culture. In fact, some of you may have read the book David and Goliath by Maxwell Gladwell. It was a recent book, New York Times bestseller. Gladwell aptly describes David and Goliath as characters as a study so we can think about disadvantages and advantages and how advantages of Goliath may actually turn into disadvantages. Gladwell illustrates this so vividly that the underdog victories are much less miraculous, thus making them more achievable for the everyday Joe. So he did a great job on shedding light on how we might reimagine our own perceived weaknesses and strengths, and how we must work together to protect the most vulnerable. The Good Samaritan, through merciful actions, restored the human dignity of the anonymous man who was traveling on a very dangerous path, one that was fraught with violence. The parable reveals virtues such as compassion, mercy, solidarity, generosity, and hospitality. The analysis of this character shows the demonstration of the first and second principle of the Unitarian Universalist: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and justice, equity, and compassion in all human relations. So David and Goliath, for those of you who don't know the story, Goliath was this big guy, mighty, powerful, and he was one of the best warriors of the time. And his army was out to have a fight. And so he asked the other army to send over their mightiest warrior. And no one was brave enough to face Goliath. He was threatening in size, was well protected in armor. In fact, he was incredibly well armed. No one said and no one volunteered, except one guy. Well, David, the shepherd boy. So David refused to use any of the weapons offered to him by his fellow colleagues in the army, although he was just a boy and they didn't really see his worth until that moment. He decided to use what he knew best, slingshot. The parable describes the angst and the tension leading up to that moment. And then as David summons up the courage and the bravery to run towards this giant, the overconfident Goliath calls out, "Am I a dog? You're going to chase me with the stick?" Making fun of David. So despite all that tension and that ridicule, David takes a little tiny rock, an old-fashioned slingshot, shoots it, hits the giant in the head, boom, falls dead. Yeah, that's what happened. And conventional wisdom would dictate that courage alone may be enough to fight the big fight and defeat giants of this world. However, a deeper analysis of this parable reveals that it was really never about the fight. It wasn't even about the battle. It's about how we all have strengths and weaknesses, and how do we use them to take advantage to make our way through the world, and I would argue, make the world a better place. On the surface of this story, it would appear that anyone who had thought they had the courage to go against a mighty giant like Goliath would be at a great disadvantage. You're outgunned, you're outnumbered, Goliath was huge, covered with armor, powerful swords, and experienced in traditional fighting. So it seemed like he had every advantage. But in reality, those were the very reasons Goliath was defeated. He was overconfident. We see that today, people being arrogant, overconfident. So what conventional wisdom calls a disadvantage often plays out to advantage, don't you think? How many of you know anybody who's visually impaired or blind? I do, right? And I will tell you that their sensory capabilities are much better than mine. And I would defer to call anyone normal because there is no normal. All of us have disadvantages and advantages. In the book that Malcolm Gladwell wrote, he referred to recent research that talked about dyslexics having an advantage in winning over people because they've developed coping mechanisms to get along with others. From arguing their way around on how to get a better grade, to perhaps becoming a college president or a chancellor. Yeah, I was diagnosed as a learning disability as a kid. But I did not let that label define who I was. I wasn't a David, I wasn't a Goliath, but I was lucky enough to have adults like many of you in my life. Many of you who did not see a label or a perceived strength or weakness. Rather, I was guided by loving, caring individuals like yourself who understand the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So I leaned into being me. The story of David and Goliath is really about playing to your strengths. One look at David, people would have laughed at him, thinking he's foolish. What's this little guy going to do against that great big guy? No one stopped him. But everybody laughed. But he knew what his strengths were, and he didn't opt to use any other traditional tools that were given to him. He knew what he was good at. He knew what the end goal was, he played to his strengths, and he won that battle. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that I'm an advocate for violence or the use of violence to solve any conflict. That's nothing further from the truth. But the story can illustrate an inherent ability for us to tackle and take on the big challenges of our times. And there's a few challenges on the horizon. Let's talk about that. Today, we know that the fights on our horizon are some of the biggest challenges ahead. Perhaps some of you are sitting and thinking about the Supreme Court's ruling that's expected to take next month. As you know, that pending decision with half a century of privacy rights in the balance may certainly represent a challenge and put us all on a dangerous path. Or maybe it's the fight for self-determination. We have all been watching a mighty challenge play out today in a seemingly modern David and Goliath story, the war in the Ukraine. Or perhaps it's the fight to dismantle white supremacy, to confront and call out racism, to deal with our racist past, and work together to implement an affirmation of being anti-racist. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the fight that we look inward to ourselves as we're trying to build a better culture that is more just. So as we face these challenges on the horizon, we know the path ahead will probably be filled with some conflict and perhaps even a little danger. We may have to choose which character or which character traits we want to portray in the story of our lives, our reactions to challenges. Will we be David, the underdog, who's going to take on a big challenger? Or will we be Goliath, the larger, more better prepared, perhaps a little arrogant guy? I believe the world is filled with both David and Goliath. And in reality, neither are strong and neither are weak. In reflection, if you think about the human condition, many of us are just trying to coexist, especially these last 2 years, just trying to coexist. Some of us are fighting our own inner battles. Some of us are looking at the challenges that we have today on the horizon and thinking, there's just too much. I can't do anything about this, and perhaps we're paralyzed to act. So what are we going to do when the crisis hits your home, hits you, in your neighborhood, in your family? Maybe there's some lessons to be learned from the parable of the Good Samaritan. Like the characters of David and Goliath, the references of the Good Samaritan are dominant in our culture. In fact, there's a Good Samaritan law on the books. That law is intended to offer legal protection to those of us who provide reasonable action to assist those who are in peril. To assist those in peril. So let me give you a quick summary of the Good Samaritan. It's a parable and a story that serves as an example by providing aid to those who we may not know or who may not be part of our birth tribe, and we might not even know them at all. And yeah, in case you're wondering, this is the parable that created the love your neighbor as yourself. It stems from this parable. The detailed story can be found in the biblical text of Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. The story is reportedly told by Christ, who was talking to a lawyer, which in and of itself is kind of a funny situation if you think about it, but I won't go there. In the story, it's about a man who was traveling this kind of dangerous road. He was beaten and robbed and left for dead. Left for dead. Then a priest comes by. And what does he do? He walks across the street to avoid the man who was beaten. He does nothing. And then a little while later, a Levite, a member of the Hebrew tribe, comes upon the victim, and he too did nothing. Then later, a good Samaritan came by, stopped and showed compassion. He helped the man. He provided first aid. He gave him comfort. He took him to the inn nearby. He gave the innkeeper money, and he said, take care of him. And then he added, if you have to spend more, I'll pay you when I come back. And there's one more important note from a historical and literary point of view. The audience of the assigned storyteller back in the day when this ancient story first happened was the Jewish people. And at the time, the Jews and the Samaritans were they despised each other. So the historical context and the meaning adds value to this story. Fear, xenophobia, and racial prejudice has always been the great divider among people and nations. Since ancient times to present, we tend to distrust others who don't look like us, sound like us, or believe like us, or pray like us. But the Samaritan didn't care. He showed us that racism has no place in this world. He didn't ask the guy what church he went to. how he voted. He just helped. He responded quickly with compassion. So what does this show us? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. You should put aside your differences to help those who are in peril, who are in need. The Samaritan saw someone in need in the roadside, and he helped. And he did so in the face of potential danger. And he did so, and it cost him time, and it cost him money. And yet he did not hesitate to offer that assistance. Today, I know we're facing some challenges on the horizon, and the path ahead will probably be filled with threats, and we're going to have to choose which character we want to portray in the story of our lives. Will we be like David, the young underdog taking on the challenger, headed into the challenge with great courage, not really well prepared, but standing on the conviction of knowing yourself? Or will we be like Goliath, the older, wiser, more prepared, although maybe a little arrogant? Or will we be like the Good Samaritan and surprise everybody by stopping along the side to offer help to someone we do not know who's more vulnerable and is in need of great compassion? When the situation presents itself to you, and it will, I urge you to look at options. Look beyond conventional wisdom. Perhaps your biggest perceived disadvantage will become your greatest advantage. Will we stop to help? Will we share the resources of time and money to be able to provide to help those who we don't even know? I, for one, hope that we will. My hope is that we will rise to the moment because we believe in justice and equity and compassion in human relations. And I am confident that when we learn and work together with the goal of creating a world of community of peace and liberty and justice for all, we will be remembered that we are connected. Perhaps like David, being a little braver, perhaps like Goliath, maybe being prepared, and always like the Good Samaritan, being ready to help. So as we just try to make our way through the journey, let's be reminded of the story and the song today, talking about the song of prayer, where it says, love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my great pleasure to be here with you today, and my deepest gratitude for your actions that you've done to help our community. And I'm going to thank you in advance for helping and rising to the occasion when the moment presents itself, because big or small, I know that you will step up to help our community. Thank you again. Thank you.
I hope you don't mind. I'm supposed to play a song on the guitar, but I feel like I should play the flute one more time. Yeah. So what I'd like to do is create a song for now in this space, never played before, never to be played again. Maybe spirit influenced, maybe just Lance influenced. But no matter what, just close your eyes and listen with your heart. And I'll try to play from my heart. And maybe we can communicate that way, or not.
I'm not ready to talk. De nuevo, again, soy Lori Tidyman Jones. As I look at all of you, I see the beauty of this community, a collective committed to lifting and challenging one another, seeing the beauty in each other and bringing beauty into this community, country, and world. To have, here comes the plug, to have the staff and programs and facilities to allow us to do what we do, it takes funds, and I give you now the opportunity to contribute to those. If you could please read with me the following. If not us, then who? If not open hearts, then what? If not now, then when? If not here, then where? If not generously, then how? If not us, then who? The next slide shows you how you can make a financial contribution right now, or if you're on the Alluvial campus, you can always drop cash or check in the basket on your way out. Thank you in advance for contributing to the beauty that is this congregation.
Please join in our chalice extinguishing words. Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevamos en el corazón. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts. Can you guys thank Lori for doing such a beautiful job today? She orchestrated this whole day and made it all happen.
Great. Thanks, and that definitely takes a village. I don't know if you noticed, but you guys show your. I have 4 cheerleaders here with signs, "We love you." They gave me this on my binder. This is from my Chalice circle saying, "Go for it." Oops, sorry about that. Lorenzo and Chris and Lauren, Jamie and Lisa, and of course Carol, Ian in the back, Nico in the back. And I'm going to add my husband, Tim. He's here. So reminders for today is just that we exit this way. You guys first and follow behind. Dr. Goldsmith and Jamie and Lisa and myself will be there to greet you. And coffee hour is a thing. And so you can go over there and have coffee and take a chance meeting somebody. I was new here not very long ago, and look at what I'm doing now. I promise we won't make you do that. And something before we all go, it's our tradition that people who are here for the first, second, or third time, we like to recognize you. We promise there's no real pressure. We'll make everybody stand up beside you before you're there too long. So if there's anybody with us, or if you are on our virtual campus, if you can just put in the chat room or do a reaction with a wave and your name, we'd really appreciate it. So if anybody here for, oh, there we go. Husband, thank you. Husband, up. And now if everybody will stand, And then for you, I expect you to stand too. I can't see you, but please stand. And we will have our benediction and our final song.
Okay, today's closing words come to us from Homaro Cantu. The significance of the cherry blossom tree in Japanese culture goes back hundreds of years. In their country, the cherry blossom represents the fragility and beauty of life. It's a reminder that life is almost overwhelmingly beautiful, but that it's also tragically short. May we always see beauty no matter our time on this earth.
All right, hit it.
1, 2, 3. Go from here in peace, go with love. Go from here in peace, go with love. Go from here in peace, go with love. In love, go in Shalom and assalamu alaikum. 1, 2, 3, 4.